Hello.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Boba Cup 2 at Factory T-Bar in San Gabriel, California. Go ahead.
We are about to start Pool 3. One of the players, Timosaur, that you saw moving up last time, and 3 no players, Julie, Croissant, and Dayani. And it looks like we're going directly into a match with Julie and Croissant.
And it's going to be Giri Gili, ESP. It sounds like it's this is an old chart from an old version. Am I correct in that assumption?
I don't remember super well. It looks like that was a pocket pick from Croissant, so something
nice.
that she decided to pull out. And we have a pretty familiar Love is Orange 11, which will be coming up for the second song.
Now we're getting right into it. If I remember correctly, there are some very rude stops towards the end of this chart, which I think will work in Croissant's advantage.
Both of them starting nicely locked in, only about 2 to 3 perfect so far. Pretty low BPM song, and just some 8th notes so far, a few double steps. Julie, a few perfects ahead. Picks up a great there, but now behind by 2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah. Croissant still, I didn't even say it. It just happened. Dropping down to green.
Looks like this is just going to continue being an MA contest all the way through.
It's quite a straightforward chart until I think towards the end. We got some jack patterns here, very hard to stay consistent, but they're both doing a solid job.
Tied again now.
There's the stop.
There's a stop you talked about. Julie drops about 6 points. And yeah, that might actually wind up being the difference in this after she had gotten a nice string of Marvelouses to keep that tied. If this was Croissant's pocket pick and she has it practiced, then she's probably gonna hold on to this through the end after getting ahead by 20 to 30 on the one stop section.
Yeah, really solid use of pocket pick by Croissant, ending with a really solid green full combo.
Very nice, that did its job, and she takes the first song of our pool.
Very solid AAA there. Yeah, Croissant has, in previous SoCalDDR tournaments, has been very effective in using some very quirky 12s, if I recall correctly.
That's always the fun with pocket picks, is to figure out the mix of what do you like, what have you practiced, and your guesses at what people in the field may not have practiced recently.
Yeah.
Or in folders this huge, like 11 to 14 this pool is, by the way, up from 10 to 13. In folders this huge, people are not going to remember every chart in the first place.
Yeah, you can only remember so many 11s after a certain point. I think someone in the stream chat pointed out that we didn't introduce ourselves because we jumped right into the action. I am Italian Falchion.
Hi, and I'm Hamlet. We will be playing a little later.
Yeah, you can catch us at Pool 5, but right now we're in Pool 3 doing Love is Orange Challenge.
I didn't see the good right as the song started, but both of them have been MAing pretty well since then. A difference of only 3 or so. Some more double step 8th notes. 180 is a good bit faster than the previous song. And they're staying very tight again. 2 at that little rest right there, now tied.
Yeah.
So this one, without the gimmick section, is probably going to be a straight timing contest all the way through.
Definitely, and it's the lower end of the difficulty range for this pool, so definitely going to be an MA battle.
It's a lot of just hitting 180 BPM double steps very cleanly and not drifting off your timing when you do. Difference of, well, I was about to say 4, then suddenly it swung by about 5 points to Croissant by 1, and now tied again.
It's going to come right down to the wire for sure. Some candle patterns here.
Good memory, and yeah, a lot of this will also just be focused through the end. Not getting too complacent, letting your timing drift when you've been playing 2 minutes of a song, tied with only a couple measures left.
Oh, it's going to be. And it's a tie. It is
There
a
you
tie.
go.
We have
First match of this pool.
I believe this is our first tie of the tournament as well. Wow. And so that good at the beginning that you mentioned, Croissant one better MA. That was the entire difference. Wow.
See them hugging and taking selfies in the traditional "we got a tie in a tournament" style.
As you must. That's just it's a really exciting moment, really nice moment of camaraderie. We're literally getting exactly the same score in a song. It's really special.
Because, you know, we're watching, and watching out goes back and forth by like 2-3 EX the whole way, but when you're playing, you have no idea that that's what's going to happen until the second the song ends.
So true.
So in this event, because they're just totaling up song wins, we are moving on after 2 songs.
Yes. Yep. So, so the Croissant has a win and a tie, and Julie has a loss and a tie, and then depending on how the rest of the matches shake up, it'll just be based on best record advances.
So we now have, should be Dayani and timosaur coming up. Timo,
Yeah.
you just saw playing in the last pool.
I think you know one or two things about the other competitor here.
I do. Dayani is local. We drove about an hour here from LA. She is exclusively a no-bar player and has been getting a lot of attention on Life 4 and other places lately for working on timing. Got her first few MFCs in the recent months.
Yeah, really, really incredible MA work. I've witnessed some of that on Life 4 as well. Really, that kind of just commitment to really focusing so deeply on certain BPMs and certain very specific details of timing is really admirable. It's something I wish I had more patience for, but it's really impressive.
So we have 2 songs coming out of the draw, Mermaid Girl Expert 11 and Going Hypersonic Difficult 12, both staying near the bottom end of the difficulty range for this draw, which I don't know timosaur as well, but might favor Dayani, whose strength has been timing 11s and 12s and 10s lately.
Yeah, Mermaid Girl also quite low BPM, 140, yeah, so that also plays in to her strengths, if I believe. And then, yeah, so we're playing the 11. We're thankfully staying away from shock hours for the time being, and sticking with the ESP 11 rather than the CSP 12. Here we go.
Yeah, probably another timing contest here. The biggest new thing in the song is a little syncopated pattern, which is a bit easy to drift on if you're not counting out very precisely.
Definitely, the little up-down gallops. Right there.
Dayani saw with a full white on the first 2 sets of gallops and winds up being ahead by 3 to 4. Both of them white through those sets of gallops, or at least one of them. So this is going to be very close again.
Yeah, great start from both of them.
It is really nice when the difficulty range lets the players in the pool kind of express their really good timing skills, as well as possibly their ability to play harder songs.
Definitely.
She has opened up a lead to about 12 to 14. Both players still very steady though. The patterns, mostly like what you've seen, just a touch more complicated at the very end. I think a few more jumps and the gallops moving around a little bit more.
Yeah.
The gap is close to about 8. I think there's one more chorus.
Yes, I believe you're right. Again, really centers around that up-down syncopated gallop pattern. Goes up probably about 15 times or so. A little break here before we hit into the last chorus.
So if she holds on to the timing on all of those same patterns, then she will probably stay ahead by these 10 or 15. But let's see. Yep, She does not give any room at all.
Very clean. Wow. Takes up by 25. That is quite a margin for an 11 like that. Really well done. 37-1. Very solid.
37-1. Both players a little fast. And yeah, I mean, pure ability to hit Marvelouses versus Perfects on that song for both of them. And Dayani comes out ahead. I do not know going Hypersonic 12 as well.
It's pretty straightforward. So the 15 is known for having a lot of syncopation, a lot of tricky rhythms. The 12 kind of simplifies that and turns it into a lot of 3+3+2 patterns and a lot of eighth note streams. I quite enjoy it. It's quite a fun, straightforward 12, DSP 12, kind of what you would expect from a modern DSP 12. This will also probably be a bit of a contest of MA, but the patterns are a little bit faster, more 16th notes you'll see in this.
And 156 should be a tempo that both players are pretty comfortable with, just like 140.
Definitely.
See 3.25 on the right. Actually can't see what that is on the left.
Maybe a tick slower.
Both start with about 3 or so perfects, start very even. There's some of those dotted eighth note patterns you talked about.
So you'll see that feature as the primary sort of rhythmic refrain in addition to the eighth note streams.
Timo gets the first great, so Dayani has a little confidence boost of seeing the first blood there and is up by 9. Okay, both players drop a few on the eighth note runs, but Dayani drops more by being fast for a while, and it closes to about 2 to 3 points. Now tied.
We are tied. One little drill there just to make sure that you're not caught complacent. Very tricky gallop pattern there, and they both nail it.
It's been hovering at about 2 to 3 points to timosaur for a while, so it's really just who avoids drifting for the rest of the song and picking up any strings of perfects.
That's where the rhythm changes up a little bit and becomes a gallop instead of a dotted pattern. Very easy to rush. Timosaur.
The miss there closes it suddenly.
Oh.
It's 2 points.
Oh, it's 1. Oh, it's 1. Yiverson takes it by 1. Wow. Almost lost it with the miss, but manages to hold on.
A lot of excitement from the crowd there, and more prerequisite selfies. Yeah, Dayani was ahead a little bit at the beginning, but Timo was very, very steady and just ground out 2 or 3 points every time there was a tricky section and wound up ahead by 10 or so, which was barely enough for him to handle a miss and a couple greats near the very end.
Yeah, very clean MA. And so we have another money score versus EX score situation there with a 988 beating a 997. Gotta have some of those.
Yeah, people were very excited about that one here in the tournament area.
It's great to see the hype getting going in these early pools. Really awesome that, great thing about this community is so much support for everyone at any level out here to support their friends and hype them up because they're pushing themselves in whatever difficulty level that they and skill level they happen to be and achieving new things.
That's another great thing about these pools where these players are getting to play songs like, in this case, 12s or whatever it might be, where they're comfortable and practiced and can achieve really high scores, because then you get these exciting matches where there are ties and 1 EX games and stuff like that for everyone to get really into watching.
Absolutely. All right, then we're getting into now, it's going to be Julie Q versus Timosaur. We've got Julie Q protecting Eversnow ESP, and Timosaur protecting high and low DSP. So we've got a...
Old song and new song?
Yeah. We've got a...
Slow song and fast song?
Slow song and fast song, exactly. Kind of some tricky... If I remember, Everstorm has some esoteric rhythms and some interesting patterns in there. It is a tarot chart or song chart to a terror song after all, and high and low is extremely straightforward MA test, consistency test, keep up with the speed kind of DSP.
Yeah, Eversnow, it's been a little while, but I used to like playing it a lot. It has a lot of, yeah, dotted eighth rhythms, a few little 5-note drills are the things I remember most. Just one of those older 12s that uses eighths and dotted eighths to make a whole bunch of different rhythms throughout the song.
Yeah.
This first song at a pretty comfortable speed with 145. Still some pretty different read speeds. Well, now it's 3.5 and 3.25.
All right, here we go, getting into it.
Like we've seen in every song so far this pool, the players starting out confidently.
A very tricky syncopated pattern there, leaving that last 16th open, and then you have to feel the downbeat and then keep hitting syncopations. Drop to greats, but they hang on just fine. Ooh.
Yep, and they are quite close coming out at the intro. Julie Q just starting to sneak ahead by 3 or 4.
Got these tricky candle jumps here.
Now back to tied. Some 8th note double steps, although I see Timo crosses one of them over. Very close, oscillating between tied and 2 or 3 EX for Julie, with a lot of the slightly odder rhythms still coming up. Both of them very nicely white on a series of 8th note step jumps.
Yeah, really nice.
Julie creeping ahead by about 6. Nope, now tied again.
Oh, it's gonna come down to the wire.
1 point now. Very nice handling of the double steps. Jump steps, rather. Tied again. There's still a little coda. Tied through all of these steps. Oh! Oh, timosaur with a great on the second last step and
Julie
loses by 1.
Julie takes it by 1, taking her protect.
Brutal, but exciting.
Fabulous.
They were MFCing a series of 8th notes going into that coda at the end of the song. And in the last measure, Julie got a perfect and Timo got a great, and it was Julie by 1.
Wow. What a match. Great match.
And now, yeah, quite the opposite kind of song. High
Something
and low.
completely different.
Much more recent edition, 210 BPM. The 16 is pretty popular amongst people with that foot speed as a timing target. The 12 is pretty much the same concept. If you're very stable and find a comfortable read speed and way to move at this tempo, it's another MA contest.
Definitely.
So we've seen 5 songs so far this pool, and we've had a tie and 2 1EX songs.
Man, we got some hype matches. This is exciting. This is a great pool so far. And now we're getting into it. All right, high and low.
Julie shouting out Amber with her screen name. Always a fan favorite.
Amber's great.
Both players start on tempo. 1 perfect each in the beginning. Now 2 and 1. But both players making it look like they are going to keep this very tight and don't want to give anything away. I think 3 perfects each. 4. A couple times now, Julie's given away 1 perfect, and then Timo a few beats later, staying almost perfectly in sync. Now, for the first time, Julie creeps ahead by more than 1 EX.
Wow.
Ooh, a miss there. with as tight as the song's going to be, that is going to be a bit tough to come back from. We have to see how much Julie holds on to this timing.
That could make a big difference for sure. Oh, dropping another great there as well. Julie staying crisp, not giving very much up. She wants this 2-0.
And this isn't that long of a song.
Just a lot of notes.
She is just steadily holding on to the same pace on timing from the start of the song, just sort of gaining a couple EX every few measures that go by.
Not letting
And
up
she
at all.
doesn't
Wow.
give any room.
Very solid.
Nice, solid win.
22. Julie takes the 2-0 after going 0-1-1 in the first match. Comes back super strong with a 2-0. Really nice work.
Yeah, Julie now on top with 2.5 wins after playing 2 sets. And now presumably we'll have Croissant and Dayani.
Yep, there we go. Yep, Julie
Oh,
with
we have a
7
thing
points.
on the board.
Love it. Yeah, so Julie now has 7 match points. I believe it's, what is it, 2 for a win, 1 for a tie, 0 for a loss? And yeah, so now we have Croissant going into playing her second match.
Yeah.
See if she can keep pace.
Croissant and Dayani, both California players, like we alluded to before. Have seen them both at a bunch of recent events around here.
Yeah, Croissant fresh off of her incredible run from last card. We actually witnessed that commentating, I believe. Part of her run through winning 2 pools, advancing 2 pools and playing in 3 total, if I recall correctly.
We're going to have Dayani on the right, and they're going to be playing 2 songs out of the draw. Venus Challenge 13 and Yeah Yeah Expert 12.
Oh, I think these would have been my last choice in all of this entire 10 draw. Venus is...
It's the highest energy song we'll have seen so far.
For sure. One of those classic old rock song charts. I find it tricky to time for that reason. A lot of rock song charts in DDR tend to be tricky to find the sync on because of just the way that rock instruments play and how the offset works, and trying to sync that in the way that you would something like an EDM track is tricky.
The first time you try to learn Unreal.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Venus actually not just the highest energy chart, but the first 13 so far in this pool. And so we've talked about a lot of these timing contests basically on 11s and 12s we've been seeing for the first 3 sets. And that is to a large extent the choice of the players who have been letting the 11s and 12s through. So it looks like Croissant is the first player who wanted to lock in a 13 out of the draw.
Yeah. And then, that 150, that's Dayani's tempo, is it not?
That has been her favorite thing lately, is MAing at 150. So I imagine she's looking forward to that.
Definitely.
And 195, so it's another fast song. If I recall, it's pretty long and with a high note count.
Pretty long, yeah. I recall some freezes and jumps and things, strange rhythms. And we're getting into it.
Players jumping right in. Croissant starting out ahead. Pretty hard to tell what's going to happen. Dayani timing pretty well other than 1 miss, but it's Croissant by about 10 after the introduction. This was her song, Protected Out of the Draw. She may well have guessed that a song with a higher stamina requirement would be the thing to go for in this matchup.
Leading by 25 at this point.
Dayani with a really nice string of MA there, closes it to about 15. So have to see if she can keep up really sharp performance on this song and see how much Croissant gives back. That gap is cut to about 15 now.
Really great job, Dayani, pulling it back, not letting up after a slightly shaky start.
Completely MFCs that little run of 8th notes.
Dang.
And is now back within 10. So been very, very tight other than the first few measures in the intro, actually. Still 10 after a great, but lead very slowly shrinking. So unless she gets tired, this could wind up being an exciting end if she keeps closing this. Now it's 2-1.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, she pulls it back.
And she gets it back. She was down
Wow.
by 25, as you said, and we just watched that number gradually dwindle over the course of the entire rest of the song as she stayed totally focused.
What a comeback. And it was all on MA. It's all on that perfect difference. 30, almost a 30 perfect difference between them, despite Croissant having a higher money score, fewer greats. Dayani's MA ultimately pulls it out for him.
And just really nice to not be disrupted by the good and the great, or the good and the miss early in the song. Not to feel bad about your blue number as you're plowing through the song, trying to hit every arrow.
Absolutely. And we have a question in the chat. So the scoring in this is, it's EX scoring. So how that works is that there are points assigned for each note based on how accurate you are on each note. So the best that you can do is a marvelous, which is worth 3 points. A perfect, which is slightly less accurate, is worth 2. A great is worth 1, and a good or miss is worth 0. So it entirely comes down to how accurate you are across the entire song, how many marvelouses you can get versus, compared to your opponent. So combo has nothing to do with it.
Okay, so Dayani's 150 BPM bias doesn't seem to be a secret to anyone, so this might just largely about how tight does she keep it on unfamiliar equipment and with tournament nerves. Looking like a nice start for both players.
I think we've got some, yeah, no problem. We've got some 150 BPM memeing in the chat, which I appreciate greatly, as Dayani is taking a commanding lead at this point.
Yeah, it drifted down just slightly, but now it's just, she's not giving away anything. And she, during those long freeze arrows, might even have gotten a little glimpse to see that she is sitting pretty at the midpoint of the song. Depending on whether she's someone who likes to do that, but we're just watching a very, very nice timing clinic here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be hard to guess from your home scores what's going to be, for example, a good pocket pick or a good song to lock in a tournament.
True.
Especially when you're talking about something like accuracy. Completely tight through the end. Wow. That's going to be probably the highest score we've seen so far today. And she gets a big cheer from the crowd for that one.
I got to see that perfect count. 33.
33 perfect PFC.
That is not an easy song to MA. Those rhythms are weird. The sync is weird, and that is an impressive MA.
I'm sure she feels good showing off the thing that has been her Life 4 Discord meme for a month, which is just playing 150 BPM charts and destroying the accuracy on them. So to the person who was asking about scoring before, that's an example. I think I've been doing fine over here.
You've been doing great.
She just got a 30 perfect PFC.
Don't worry. Yama's a bully. We all know Yama's a bully, so don't worry about him.
And that's actually going to put Dayani ahead of the pool right now with 3 song wins.
Really impressive. Really impressive.
Which I am happy about. Yeah, so the person who was asking about score, yeah, so that's an example of where the main difference between the players was how many of their steps were judged marvelous and how many were judged perfect. You know, for example, if the players are getting no or almost no misses, that's basically what it comes down to. And so how good you are at hitting marvelouses, which is steps within a one-frame window of what the perfect moment would be when they hit the targets,
Yeah.
is the main skill you are working on when you are practicing your ability to score on easier songs that you can handle well.
Yeah. It's really interesting how much EX scoring really, I think, affects the culture of competitive DDR and just like sort of avid DDR players in general. How the fact that we have EX scoring and the importance it places on accuracy and marvelouses really affects like the value system on what scores are like. I found when I played casually, it was more about passing and comboing, right? But as soon as I sort of got introduced to the competitive side of things, Life 4, things like that, realizing how much of a value is placed on that kind of consistent accuracy is really interesting, and it's something that's. There are other rhythm games that do it, but it's really interesting how much of a focus there is on it in DDR.
Yeah, it was really the DDR community that over the years chose to emphasize EX scoring as the way that competition would be oriented around.
Yeah.
We're going to have Exotic Ethnic coming up, a pocket pick from timosaur, maybe now going to be the highest stamina song we'll have seen.
I would definitely wager that, just because of how constant the eighth note streaming is.
Especially if either of the players like to cross it over.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah. The song is non-stop crossovers. It's quite hefty on testing your ability. It's an old. I think this is from Max. I remember playing it on Max.
Yeah, I mean, it existed when I played somewhere in the Max 2 Extreme days. I think you're probably right that that's when it appeared. It's fast, and yeah, it just has eighth notes that are patterned as back and forth crossovers, like you said. I think most players trying to score it at this level are probably going to double step most of them, but double stepping eighth notes back and forth from up to right and up to left can be tiring and easy to make mistakes on. We see double steps from Croissant and a mix from timosaur so far, and Croissant pulling ahead.
It's very easy to get mixed up. You feel comfortable, especially if you feel comfortable turning one way more over the other. I find this. I get stuck crossing over one way, and then it feels awkward, so then I end up slide double stepping others. And it's very easy to get behind because of the fast tempo, the 190, which for a 13 constant streams like this is quite formidable.
Yeah, we saw an example of Timo just getting a miss on a double step, I think. Now he's crossing over a whole long eighth note run. Now he seems to have stabilized quite a bit, but Croissant had built up a big lead. Even though this was Timo's pocket pick, it's a pretty well-known song, older song, like you said,
yeah.
And the kind of thing that a lot of players might be able to handle confidently, and Croissant seems to be very comfortable.
Yeah, and we know Croissant's affinity for the old songs and her very deep song and chart knowledge. Very impressive win. Taking a pocket pick off another competitor is nothing to sniff at.
It was nice seeing her form with those really big movements and constant double steps, and just staying very precise while doing so. First batch of songs to ever use freeze arrows. Wow, I forgot about that. Freeze arrows introduced in Max 1,
yeah. Alongside
other features like speed mods.
That's right. Yeah, I remember playing like, oh man, Darude Sandstorm on Max.
Mm-hmm.
That had freeze arrows all over the place. Now we're going into, I believe this is Lucky Lucky, if I'm remembering the translation. Yeah. It's a relatively straightforward 13, but it centralizes these gallop patterns, syncopated gallop patterns, which if you lock in, they feel great to execute, but it's very easy to to veer off. That's pretty tricky. Similar patterns like Confession, the Confession gallops, Confession 14.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the more timeable 13s generally. And this one came out of the card draw, and Croissant locked it in. But Timo starts slightly ahead. Both players quite clean. Both players picking up one grade, but timosaur holding on to 5 or 6 points. A few double-step 8th note patterns. There was what looked like a spin there. After one miss, timosaur still ahead by about 15. Gallops don't disrupt him too much either.
There's those little mini gallop patterns. Really is a great introductory 13 because it incorporates just a little bit of so many different techniques and rhythmic patterns and step patterns.
But the patterns are all pretty manageable, and I think for people looking to get, you know, early 13 AAAs and stuff like that, it can be a good song to look to.
Definitely. Timosaur with a quite convincing win there.
Timosaur holds on the whole way through. Both players took each other's picks off each other.
Love when that happens.
I think this chart actually does cross everything over. Yeah, a lot of times on charts with mostly 8th notes, I'm not going to remember offhand if they flow if you cross them over, because I tend not to do them like a lot of players.
This is also Agent A and Nightman, who are the two biggest
crossover likers, yeah,
that I have ever met. So we have to take their opinions as all with a grain of salt.
One of the things that makes it hard to cross over lowers consistently is remembering which crossovers resolve and which ones don't.
Right.
Is a pretty high bit of chart knowledge, especially because at 8th note speed, you can't read ahead well enough to necessarily know that a crossover is the best way to handle a particular pattern.
Definitely. And if you try to cross something over and it doesn't resolve, you get very stuck and in a very awkward position.
You get to do the left-right double step.
Exactly.
2 pocket picks coming up.
Pocket. Oh my goodness.
So, of course, Dayani with a 150 BPM 12.
Yeah.
We're going to see if she can score that as well as she did. Yeah. And then it will be Julie's pocket pick of Paranoia KSKST mix, difficult 13.
Ooh, interesting. Wildly different charts. Sky is the Limit is a impressively tricky chart, I find. If I'm remembering that this this chart correctly, it has some very, very strange syncopated rhythms that are they have quite a lot of space in between them, which makes them very, very tricky to time properly. So it's hard to find where the beat is.
Yeah, exactly. There are long stretches of this song that are just very easy 150 BPM 8th note stuff, but there's this long bridge, maybe about the second quarter of the song, which is just odd, hard to describe rhythms that are not consistent, like you described. Lots of dotted 8th gaps and syncopated notes without a consistent pattern.
I'm excited to see how Dayani executes on that.
Dayani and Julie, good friends. We've all hung out a lot at California events. It was about 2 perfects to 3 for a little bit there. Now it's opened up just a little bit, about 4 for Dayani.
This is just the warm-up after all.
She still opens up a good 10 or so points before I'll just call it the weird part, starting now.
Wow. Only picking up 1 grade just towards the end. Keep seeing the rest of it.
Julie negotiates it pretty well, which can be really hard if you haven't practiced this song because the rhythms are so odd, but
Definitely.
still wound up being at about -30 after the odd section. And now this is going to be a pretty straightforward rest of the song.
Every perfect adds up after all.
Does the winner get free boba? We do have to shout out Dayani for bringing Boba Cup-shaped cookies to everyone at the event.
That's adorable. I still need to get one. There is this sticker that I know they showed earlier that each pool winner gets. Oh, and Dayani takes it convincingly.
So yeah, I mean, she knows where she lives. Gets another nice song win, up to 4 in this pool, plus a 1 EX loss. Nightman says, given her PB, I imagine Dayani won't feel the best about that. But don't encourage her. She just blew someone out in a tournament round. That's all we can hope for.
I mean, isn't that the essence of what you want a pocket pick to be? You can have a not great run and still have a blowout win. It's kind of that's the goal.
190 BPM, very different song. Another, somewhat high energy 13, if I recall. Odd song that North American players could not play for many years, but it's been here for a while now.
And if I recall, predominantly pretty straightforward 8th note streams, some step jumps as well, I believe. Any other chart features that you recall?
Pocket pick should make your opponent suffer. I mean, to some extent, sometimes I wonder if people look too hard into looking for weirdness and gimmicks for pocket picks. Like Dayani's of Sky is the Limit there was great, which didn't have any, gimmicks in it.
Sure.
She just knew what she was confident about. And sometimes the best pocket pick is the song you think you're best at. Both players starting out with confident MA. Dayani was up by 1, now tied, now up by 6. Could be another really interesting match. A big question for this one could be, is it going to be more tiring than the past songs for Dayani, the no-bar player, to keep up with for the whole song?
There's those step jumps. The tricky part with this song, too, is speaking of crossovers that sometimes don't resolve. This has there's a lot of 8th note streaming in this song, and then occasionally there's these weird double step patterns or odd 8th note patterns, which at this tempo is tricky to keep up with, similar to Exotic Ethnic in that way.
Dayani gets her first miss on a step jump. Could be a sign of a little bit of tiredness, but has built up a healthy lead. We mentioned some people in chat, but Dayani also quite a crossover liker. But on the unfamiliar high BPM song, she mostly double steps here, still holding on to the lead after a pretty tricky section. She has some breathing room for the ending.
And holds on, 16 EX. Julie made up some ground, but Dayani held strong. Edged out slightly on MA.
Yeah, and like Nightman says, she doesn't trust that the song will respect the crossover. She just double steps and powers it out with energy. And another nice 2-0 for her.
All right. And with that, Dayani is going to be the one that advances, it looks like, into Pool 4. If the adorable spinny graphic is to be believed.
Congratulations, Dayani.
Really great pool, though. What a pleasure to watch.
There was a
exciting.
lot of exciting stuff in that one, and just
Great.
a lot of really good playing.
Yeah. I love watching players really step up their game in a tournament. It's fulfilling to watch, it's fulfilling to do. yeah, just makes for a really, really exciting, really great vibes.
Agent says good luck to the two of us in Pool 5 in about an hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we will be playing each other in Pool 5. I'm scared of you, but I'm looking forward to the match. It should be fun.
I will say I don't know what to think of anything that's going to happen when I try to play. Yeah, a shout out to the production value
Oh my God! Yeah,
on all kinds of elements of the stream, like that scoreboard we just saw.
yeah. We have SoCalDDR has a wonderful staff that has only been making better and better streams. And with that, are we ready to take a little break before Pool 4? I think, possibly, maybe.
It will be in a moment.